Hi, today we're talking about pain. What is pain? So, when I say pain, doesn't matter if it's mental, physical, or spiritual. So, pain, based upon my personal experience, is a sign that there's something going on in the body that you need to change. It's basically a wake up call designed to get your attention to let you know, hey, there's a problem here. You need to recognize, you need to deal with me. So when you hurt, your brain's the first to know it because the nerves travel from the problem spot on your body through your spinal cord to your brain, which sends these signals as pain. So, as I mentioned, it's a sign, it's a warning that there's something going on in your body. As you heal, the pain begins to subside and hopefully eventually it will go away. Now, in the case of fibromyalgia, for many of you spoonie and fibromyalgia warriors, we've been on this battlefield for many, many, many years. In my case, since 2014. And this is something we deal with day in and day out. So for me, pain is a sign that something in my life needed to change that I wasn't dealing with. We get the warning signs all the time. How many times have you had like a headache, but it's not the type of headache that you take Tylenol or leave for? You take it, it go away. How many times have you had a headache where it just never ever went away? How many times have you had chest pain? It just doesn't go away, or it's just constant. That's what I'm talking about. As a sign, pain is a sign that something in your life needs to change. In my case, it started out with this really bad chest pain. When I would walk, it felt like my heart was just going to jump out of my chest. It's that pain in the rib cage. It was just constant, sharp pain. To walk would hurt, to breathe would hurt. Didn't know what it was. Had seen many different doctors. They couldn't figure it out. They said it was costochondritis. They couldn't figure out what was causing it. And since they couldn't figure out what was causing it, they couldn't figure out how to make it go away. Their answer sometimes was painkillers, which I refused to do. Um, so if it wasn't the costochondritis, then it was the fatigue. Many people say, oh, I can relate. I'm tired all the time. No, no, no. Totally different type of fatigue when you have fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome. What that's like is you're just literally tired and just drained. Many of you who may say you're tired, you can get a good night's sleep and you wake up and you feel refreshed. When you have a chronic illness and fibromyalgia or CFS, it don't work like that. No matter how many hours of sleep we get, it's as if we still have no relief. It's as if we still are just, I view it as being sleep stuck. And I say it's sleep stuck because sometimes I feel as if I can just get my sleep to just come down from wherever it is in the clouds or some other place to just come down and land on me and just knock me out and get deep restorative sleep. I would feel so much better. Okay, so I had problems with sleep. Then I had problems with my memory, and that's referred to as fibro fog, which is cognitive. For a while, I was getting free thinking, uh-oh, is this the early stages of Alzheimer's or dementia? But then my doctor said, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's fibro fog that happens with fibromyalgia. Okay, so I got beyond that. Chest pain was still there. Chronic fatigue was still there. And then this widespread body pain. So for many of you have asked and said, Nisi, what does that feel like? Okay, I'm gonna tell you what that feels like. That feels like being ran over by a truck, having somebody to put the truck in reverse and run over you all over again, back and forth. The pain is constant. It hurts to move. And unfortunately, even though it hurts to move, you really still have to move because your body was designed for movement. If you don't move, then your body gets these knots in it where it just hurt. And that's the thing. You really have to move. The body needs exercise. And oftentimes we're fearful for moving because the first thing we say is, oh, that makes it worse. The more you do it, the better it gets. Just don't overdo it. Another sign that something's wrong that you need to recognize. Sometimes you get depressed or you just don't feel good in your body. Um, Sometimes it's a matter of, okay, your performance is not the best on the job and you can't figure out why. So, what happens is that you find yourself working longer hours, you find yourself working a lot of overtime to make up for the time spent where you couldn't focus. You putting in more hours to get the job done. Sometimes, you just feel so out of sorts and you just don't know. Sometimes, it's that feeling of, okay, my back is hurting, my neck is hurting, my shoulders hurting to the point where I'm just hurting non-stop. So, when you have those signs and symptoms, get it checked. Go to the doctor. Don't keep delaying it and putting it on hold. You really need some help. So when all this was happening to me, I kept trying to figure out, why is this happening? What does this mean? Then you try self-diagnosing yourself. And then I saw my regular physician whom I had been treating with at the time for about 7 to 8 years. And he was no help. He was no help at all. He didn't know what to do with me. I wound up going to the emergency room twice for chest pain. The last time was when I actually went on medical leave because it was just so bad. It was so debilitating. And this doctor that I had seen for 6 to 7 years, when I had to present myself to him with paper for him to complete for me to be off work, he literally, and I kid you not, he yelled at me. He says, I don't have time for this, Nisi. There's nothing wrong with you. For all I know, it could possibly be fibromyalgia. I was like, fibromyalgia? What is that? That's all he said. He didn't explain anything. He just simply told me he didn't have time to fill out any papers for me to be off work. At that point, I realized, okay, even though I've been seeing him for like 6 to 7 years, and through that time, he was a really good doctor to me, but at this point, when I really needed him the most and he didn't come through for me, and he just threw me to the curb, I was forced to change doctors and get another opinion. And I saw a different physician, and 2 weeks later, that's when he diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of anger because had my primary care physician been listening, he could have helped me. I had been seeing him several times a month for this pain, for these types of symptoms. Remember when I said pain is a sign that something in your life needs to change? Okay, so you may be wondering, so what needed to change? What needed to change was I was under an overwhelming amount of stress. I was being bullied for 2.5 years on the job. So being bullied, being under a lot of stress, not sleeping, those were things that needed to change. I needed to learn how to deal with everything that was happening to me. As women, we're far better at taking care of the needs of others versus taking care of our own needs. There may be many of you out there whose story is very similar to mine, where you don't want to take time off of work. You can't afford to take time off of work. I got news for you. Really, you can't afford to keep on continuing on like you're doing. You can't afford to keep doing that because sooner or later, guess what? It catches up with you. And when it catches up with you, it will sit you down till you just can't function. And that's what happened to me. I kept going forward, thinking, okay, I'm going to get better. I'm going to overcome this. Nothing was working. Nothing was happening. So sometimes you do need to step away to take the time to heal and to figure out what's going on with you. So if you're someone that's dealing with this and you can't get any relief and your primary care physician is not helping you, get a second opinion. Maybe you've had a second opinion, get a third opinion, fourth opinion, fifth opinion. I've seen probably about 7 different physicians for fibromyalgia until I finally found a team that can work with me that understands what's going on. So do your due diligence to find the right doctor for you. Ask questions. You want to take an active role in your health care, not passive. So don't go to the doctor and just sit there and be afraid to ask questions. You need to ask questions because you need to understand, number one, what you're dealing with, what they're going to do to help you move forward. Do they have a plan? Because if they don't have a plan, then you need to move on. If all else fails, there is one place that I will highly recommend that you consider, and that is the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. They do have a fibromyalgia clinic there, but we'll talk about that in greater detail later. But for today's video, what I just want you to know is that pain is a sign that something in your life needs to change. Don't keep ignoring it, because sooner or later, it's not going to go away. It's only going to get worse. It's going to be magnified. So think about it. Ask yourself, what in your life needs to change? What is the white elephant in the room with you that everybody is walking around and nobody's talking about it? Nobody's dealing with it. For me, it was the people on the job who were bullying me. People knew what was going on. Nobody wanted to deal with it. Here I am trying to deal with it, and everybody else is just walking around kind of like, okay, I don't want to go there. It's not happening to me, so I don't care because it's happening to Nisi. Okay, deal with it before it deals with you. So, let me know your thoughts. Let me know how you're managing fibromyalgia. Let me know how I can be of assistance to you. If you have any questions about my journey, let me know. Under this video, I have posted the sign up links where you can join my mailing list. I encourage you to do so. That way you will learn firsthand of upcoming webinars, healthcare summits, book signings, as well as giveaways. Okay, so definitely join our mailing list. Also follow me on Instagram. Also follow me on Facebook. Those details are listed there, as well as our website. Check it out. I want to hear from you. So be blessed, and thanks for tuning in today.